Luke Shaw has suffered a new injury and confirmed it with a statement on Instagram, saying how devastated he was. Now, I don't for 1 second think Shaw isn't working, isn't grinding, isn't putting in the effort to return to fitness. But there is an honest reality we need to discuss about Shaw and his future as a Manchester United player. Another injury for Luke Shaw. It must be devastating for him. But I need to speak about Manchester United's perspective in this video and just the honest reality facing us with Luke Shaw. Please let me know what you think about this in the comments below. But I said something on Twitter yesterday and I want to follow up on it and articulate my point in an 8-minute video rather than just a tweet, because you can't really get the whole point across in a tweet. All right, let me know what you think. Now, Luke Shaw. He confirmed yesterday with this statement that he has suffered another injury setback. Now, this may well only be a couple of weeks. The suggestion is it's a muscular injury. We don't know the ins and outs of it. There's the full statement there, and you can see that he says he's absolutely devastated. It's extremely tough to come to terms with reality at this moment in time, which I think is quite an important sentence in that statement. But he, of course, has been missing all season, I think with a hamstring problem that he suffered in pre-season. And now this is the latest on top of it. And at a time when we kind of need him. And this was my reaction to the news yesterday. I said, look, it's a handshake. It's a good luck to whatever you do next. And it's a goodbye this summer. And that's the end of the conversation. And at the start of the season, I said, it doesn't matter what happens with Luke Shaw this season. Manchester United need to move on in the summer. Whether or not he had his best year in a United shirt or injuries. That same point still stood. Now, I want to run through a few things here, all right? First thing I want to say is this. I've got huge sympathy for Luke Shaw. In the same way, and this is probably something that we're learning. Well, something I can just tell you I'm learning as fans. When Phil Jones was constantly getting injured, he was sort of the butt of the jokes. And he was, I didn't really have too much sympathy for Phil Jones. I don't know why. Maybe it's just you grow older. Maybe just mature. God knows what it is. But with Luke, I do have genuine sympathy. Now, there are people that say he makes himself fit for England. I think I spoke about this in the live show earlier. I think his decision to try and make himself fit for England hurt his relationship with the United fans, because he then was fit for as a sub for the semi, fit for the final, and then another injury ruled him out for 3 months for Manchester United. So in the sort of desperation to end a season of frustration with injuries to be fit for England to try and win the Euros, it put his club career on the back foot. And that's why a lot of United fans lost some patience with him. But I don't for one moment think that Luke Shaw isn't grafting and trying and training and putting all the effort in to be fit. But the reality is this. Manchester United cannot plan with Luke Shaw anymore. All right? Simply put, his body is not capable of matching the demands of being a Premier League footballer. And in my opinion, the most physically demanding position out of any position, fullback, let alone wingback. It's the one where you have to cover the most ground. You have to be forward to throwing the crosses, but also make sure you're back in defence, because if you leave any space, you are not doing your job properly. Now, it's not as if Manchester United haven't given Luke Shaw chances. This was last year, where Luke Shaw was given a new 4-year contract. And let's be honest, injuries were a concern. Was that last year? It was last year. 2023. That was after the League Cup final, I believe. Was that after the League Cup final? Was that just before? No, that's not after the League Cup final. That's last year. So that's in the build-up to the FA Cup final, I think. Is that what it was? Either way, he got a new 4-year contract. And this contract's actually going to hurt Manchester United in terms of looking at what's next. And I'll speak about that now. But United have planned with Luke Shaw for a long time now. We haven't had a left back for like 2 years, maybe even more than that. It ends this summer. Of all the potential scenarios, in terms of, look, what happens next? That's the wrong one. In terms of what happens next and what options United have, keeping Luke Shaw, in my opinion, is the one that just simply, there is no chance it happens. And I've written them down here in terms of 4 potentials, right? Just speaking purely in hypotheticals, looking at this situation from a completely neutral standpoint, what could United do? Number 1, we could give Luke Shaw another chance. Just like we gave Luke Shaw a contract last year. No, that's just not feasible anymore. It can't be done. Number two, you sell Luke Shaw. And I go back to that same contract. He's contracted until 2027. He's on wages, I think, around about 150 grand a week. There is not going to be a club that will be willing to invest that much money into Luke Shaw. So I very much doubt that we'll be able to sell him. And we're going to be stuck in that situation in a very similar way to how we were stuck in the Anthony Martial situation. And with that one, we ended up waiting until Martial's contract ran out before he then left the club. Now, number three, I think it's just, I've seen this suggestion. I think it's just wild. Oh, Luke Shaw should terminate his contract. Luke Shaw should retire. Look, if Luke Shaw retires, that's his own decision. But the idea that Luke Shaw should just tear up a contract that he signed simply because he's had injuries, yeah, just think about it. Just for a second. It's not going to happen. Nor should it should be expected to happen. Nor, it's just, it's ludicrous. And I'm looking at number four thinking, is this the best case scenario? Where Manchester United are I think we'll be unable to sell Luke Shaw this summer, but can we loan him out, pay part of his wages, whether that's 50%, whether that's a little bit more, and Luke Shaw goes to another club, maybe another country, I don't know, and tries to restart his career away from the spotlight of Manchester United, away from the physical pressures of the Premier League and the intensity that the football requires. And maybe that's how he refines himself. And maybe at the end of that year, United could then sell him for a smaller fee. And Luke Shaw can restart somewhere else. Because it cannot be at Manchester United anymore. That's just the bottom line. Right? I don't even think this year was the final test for Luke. My personal, not decision, I can't make any decisions. My personal opinion was that United needed to move on from Luke before the season even started. And I don't think we had the funds, or I just think there were much bigger priorities in that left-back position. But as I said at the start of the video, it's Shaw joins a list of players like Hargreaves and Jones and Martial and the what could have beens at United had they not had injury woes. I don't think that Luke is not putting the effort in. However, I think he's just, the evidence has just proven that his body is not capable of going to the limits that he wants to push himself to in a Manchester United shirt anymore. And that's the honest reality. So what do you think happens next? As I said, I see those as the four most logical potential options. I mean, apart from number three, which is ridiculous. You let me know what you think in the comments below. But it's so sad, but it's just the truth. Like, it's over.